Today on the Four Rivers Ag Report, how much wood would Mr. Burns burn if Mr. Burns would burn wood? And with Halloween just around the corner, should we be afraid of the drought anymore? And if Car 54 was about a police car and Chips was about a motorcycle police, what would you call a show about a cop on a combine? Stay tuned. We'll try to explain those questions and more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Hello, welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. Well, we made it through October, and for the most part, I think farmers are happy. Okay, maybe not happy, maybe less miserable. But the crops are mostly in, and the yields have been pretty good. Prices, well, who's really ever happy with commodity prices? At least most of you have earned that well-deserved nap in the recliner. Hopefully not during this show, though, okay? But as October fades away, we face maybe the scariest monster of them all, winter. I know, you know, we all know it's coming. So this week, I talked to Dave Shiley about using the oldest method of home heating, good old wood. Dave, what are some things we need to think about in heating our homes with our fireplaces and with our stoves?
Sure. Well, one of the things is that we can talk about is using a fireplace is probably not the most efficient way to heat your home, but the number one thing I think about is safety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got an open flame, so you need to be very careful and kind of go through some steps annually to keep that fireplace safe.
It looks really pretty with an open flame, doesn't it?
It does.
What sort of things do we need to do when we're thinking about starting up the fireplace?
Yeah, so one of the things is, you know, if you haven't used your fireplace for a long time, have it inspected, both from the standpoint of getting it cleaned, you know, hiring a professional to come and remove the creosote and other things that might be in the flue, but also have that person can check for cracks in the firebox itself where you've got the fire going, and then in the flue that we can't see, so they can get up on the roof and take a look at that.
I know in our house, the birds every spring love to make a little nest right there on top of my fireplace, and so every year I had to clean that out. You talk about cracks in the fireboxes, you know, so it's not just the smoke, it's the carbon monoxide we have to worry about, isn't it?
That's correct. You know, we've got carbon monoxide, we've got, and then on the, you know, through that crack, you might get some additional heat that might cause some combustion inside the wall of your house.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I've seen commercials for those logs that are supposed to burn to help clean out the creosote and the flue. Do those really work?
Yeah, those are something that, while they might help reduce it, it's not a replacement for an annual professional cleaning. And so I really encourage people, if you're going to, you know, burn wood in a fireplace, that they have that flue cleaned.
Okay, so we checked out our fireplace. It's good and safe and ready to go.
Yeah.
What about the fuel? What about wood? How do you figure out what type and how much and all that other stuff?
Sure. Well, there are, of course, a lot of people that offer firewood for sale. Would be one option if you don't have your own woodland that you're producing firewood. So you need to do a little bit of, be a good, wise consumer. Find out, you know, how much are you actually purchasing. You know, it might advertise a pickup truck full or a full pickup truck, and it depends on how the logs are thrown in that back of that pickup truck. You know, how much am I really buying? Firewood is normally measured. The standard measurement is a cord.
Yeah, what is a cord?
A cord is a volume of measurement that we use in forest management, and it's basically 128 cubic feet. And if you stacked it up, it'd be for the standard measurement is 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet.
Okay.
And so you can ask that seller, you know, how much am I buying? Am I buying a half a cord, a full cord? Another measurement that's commonly used, they'll advertise a face cord. And a face cord is just a stack of wood that's 4 feet tall, 8 feet long, but only one log deep.
Okay.
So it's much less than a full cord of lumber, and it's going to vary depending on the length of that log. So make sure you find out how much you're buying so you
Okay.
can compare, shop around.
Okay, when you're shopping for wood, what else should you be thinking about? I mean, I can't imagine going to the supermarket and buying enough firewood to heat the house.
Yeah.
But what should you be thinking about when you're talking to somebody about buying wood?
Well, you need to ask them, what species is it? And is it hardwood? Generally speaking, all the hardwood, the oak and hickory, and other hardwood or deciduous broadleaf trees type of wood, it has similar BTU values. Black locust is going to be a little bit higher than some other species like sycamore.
Okay.
But it's much different than a wood coming from a softwood, like a conifer, a spruce or fir or pine that throws a lot of spark and produces a lot of creosote.
Right.
So, and then you also want to ask them, secondly, has it been seasoned? Is the wood seasoned?
How long does wood need to really sit to be seasoned?
It needs to be, typically the rule of thumb is about 6 months. So the wood you're buying this fall was harvested or at least cut up last spring.
Okay.
And you can kind of visually take a look at that wood to see if it has been seasoned, because it's going to turn gray. Like a lot of wood, you build a fence, you don't treat it, it turns gray, right? So
I'm familiar with that, yes.
the firewood's going to be gray, and then the ends of the wood logs or the pieces are going to have cracks, where you see that moisture leaving the log. And the BTU values of wet wood are much lower than dry wood.
And you're going to get more sparks and more projectiles.
Right, more smoke.
And more smoke.
More smoke.
Okay,
Wet wood.
so we've checked out we've found somebody to buy some wood. We know how much wood we're buying. We bought the wood. How do we store it?
Yeah, storage, now that wood has gotten all the moisture out of it, you want to kind of protect it. You don't want to cover the wood completely, but certainly a covering over the top of it, whether it's a permanent structure or you can commercially buy.
Keep the rain and the snow off of it.
Yes, right. And so if it's got bark on it, you can put the bark exposed to the top of that pile to keep it dry if you don't want to cover it. But don't cover the entire pile with a tarp, because you still want that pile to
Right.
breathe. You also want to store it away from your home. There may be pests like termites that we want to keep away from our home, and so don't pile it right up against the house
Okay.
or the garage.
So, fireplace versus wood-burning stoves. What are the advantages, or if I was going to say wanting to really supplement my house with heat, supplement the heating in my house, what options should I consider?
Yeah, so a fireplace, the typical fireplace open on the front, is great for aesthetics. We want to have a nice looking fire, but it's not going to really add too much to the heat value in our home, supplementing that. So we want to probably go to the next step, either purchase a firebox that's a little more airtight. You can put that inside the fireplace itself.
Right.
Or go to the next step of purchasing a freestanding wood-burning stove. And there's different kinds of wood-burning stoves, obviously. Ones that you're putting in one room that are going to heat a certain area. Not in a two-story home, obviously you're not going to get much heat upstairs. Or some people then they want to really replace that natural gas or propane, and so they're purchasing a wood-burning stove that's going to hook right into their forced air system.
Okay, so you can hook up some stoves. You can hook up with your forced air system.
That's
that
correct.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So, is wood the only option we have to burn?
No, in fact, the standard firewood, if you're going to use a system that you're heating your home, you're going to go through a lot of cords of firewood. So a lot of systems now use pelleted wood, would be one option.
Where do you get the pellets?
Yeah, a lot of our, you can buy those locally. Yeah, a lot of local suppliers have those available now because it's a real common practice. On a large system, you're going to have to think about either getting up and mechanically loading those into your hopper, or they have automated systems where you can load in several pounds of wood pellets, and then that's manually or automatically going into the firebox.
So wood pellets are great. I mean, I've heard rumors of corn.
Right. Before, our pelleted wood systems were around, lots of corn burning stoves. And in fact, down over in Piatt County, there's a company that has a system that heats their entire hardware store. So
Wow.
very large system. So, and those corn burning stoves are still around, so that's another option.
Are there other issues with burning corn as opposed to burning wood? Do you have to treat it different? How do you handle ash, that sort of stuff?
Right, it's basically the same, and that is one of the things that you do need to maintain that system. If you're going to go to a system that does burn wood to heat your entire home, then you become kind of the utility operator, and so you have to do that, cleaning out the firebox and disposing of that ash and that type of thing.
So how economical is it to heat your home with a wood or a corn or a wood pellet type stove? Is it really saving you money?
It's pretty comparable. You'd want to take a look at the University of Illinois Extension website. We have a firewood website. You can kind of compare, take a look at those different systems. We have some additional links on that from that website that people, if they're really seriously looking at, I'm going to convert my whole house, do some research, and it's going to be based on whether they have electric heat currently or propane and how much they're paying for those utilities to currently heat their home.
Now, one of the issues that we're facing with wood in particular is we have a nasty little visitor, or I guess he doesn't want to be a visitor, he wants to live here. Right now that's affecting this area. What's up with the emerald ash borer?
Well, the emerald ash borer is an insect that came here probably in pallet wood, we think. Maybe as early as the early 1990s. It was discovered in the early 2002, I believe, in Michigan, and 2006 here in Illinois.
So it just attached itself to firewood, or what type of wood?
Well, it prefers to eat ash.
Okay.
Our native in the genus Fraxinus, those species of ash, and so it's targeting a particular genus of trees. The big problem related to firewood is that it lays its eggs on the bark of the tree. Those larvae hatch out, then they burrow underneath through the outer bark into the inner bark.
Yeah, I've seen the trails are really bizarre.
Yeah, they're very meandering. They're S-shaped. And so they eat that inner bark or the phloem of the tree. That when they eat that phloem, then it can't carry the food that's produced in the leaves down the stem of the tree, and so then it dies. So the one issue is that up in Michigan, they've already had to harvest millions of trees that are dead in terms of ash trees, and it's in Illinois, same kind of thing. It's costing communities a lot of money for tree removal. And
so it seems to me this is a big problem. First of all, so you don't buy ash wood or don't transport ash wood, or what should we do with firewood? And the second question is, how can we tell if we have these nasty little visitors? I know they're in some of the southern counties. I know they're in some of the northern counties.
Yes. Well, first of all, the firewood, because it's difficult for the average person to know recognize this is ash, lumber, or firewood, or oak, then there's actually a quarantine, which restricts the movement of all hardwood firewood, both in and out of Illinois. There's a federal quarantine. We have an internal state quarantine because moving that firewood, normally these little insects are only going to move 2 miles a year.
Okay.
All right, so when I load it back in my truck,
hitching a ride in the back of your truck.
That's right. When I move it from Chicago down to Mattoon, I've skipped over, a large number of years, and so that's how we're seeing it move in Illinois. Not that people are doing that intentionally, but so that's why we've got a quarantine.
So I know that the Ag Extension Office and the Illinois Department of Agriculture are sponsoring a workshop, is it, in Effingham this soon?
Right. It was just, emerald ash borer was just discovered in Effingham and Marion counties, further south than Champaign was the closest location. So on November 1st, then there's an opportunity for people to learn more about emerald ash borer, how to recognize the damage, identify the insect, learn about those quarantine restrictions. and it's at the University of Illinois Extension office there in Effingham. People can still register.
Excellent.
We've extended that deadline.
Excellent.
It was on Friday, but we've extended that. People can call the office through Monday at noon. We'd like to get that meal count. It's free. The program is offering a free lunch, so we need a meal count.
Well, you know how to attract people, so it's November 1st.
That's correct.
Okay, in Effingham at the Ag Extension office. Emerald Ash Borer, let's get control of these guys before they control us. So Dave, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Monica Becker. There is a new top ag dog in the state. Governor Quinn this week announced that Jim Larkin of McLean County will be the acting director of the Illinois Department of Agriculture. Larkin manages a 680-acre grain farm near Towanda, and he founded AgriFire, a business that developed and marketed corn-burning heating appliances before he accepted a job with the state in 2001. Larkin most recently headed the Illinois Department of Agriculture's Ag Products Inspection Bureau. And closer to home, we're winning. For those of you keeping score, this area is much further along than the national average in regards to the harvest. The USDA reported that for the week ending October 23rd, 65% of the corn crop was in, as compared to 47% last week and 51% on average. Statewide corn is 79% harvested, and locally, well, we must be in the 90% range. To our east, the USDA reports that Indiana is having a tough October with only 42% of total corn acreage being harvested. Those Hoosiers had a cold, wet week last week, and there was even wind-downed corn in some northern parts of the state. Let's hope that they have a better week this week. And with the holiday season and the end of the year coming up, this is often the time that people start to think about charitable donations. But of corn, Todd Gleason reports on an option for farmers that could reap some wonderful rewards.
There's some really good reasons for a farmer to make charitable contributions of their farm products instead of the cash. There's some paperwork involved too, but the benefits of making a gift of, say, corn instead of cash may be worth the effort.
By giving the grain, he is able to take a tax deduction for all of his production expenses. He's going to be taking that on his Schedule F, assuming that he's an operating farmer. And he's not going to report any income from that grain. Therefore, it has the benefit of reducing his income tax, his Social Security or self-employment tax liability, and his state income tax.
Now, essentially, the gift comes out pre-tax dollars and all the input costs still get to be taken off. But you can't just write a check. First, you have to give up control of the grain or other commodity to protect yourself and be IRS compliant. It all requires a very specific paper trail.
Yeah, really what you're trying to protect yourself is that in the event of an IRS audit, that they don't say that you had constructive receipt of that grain sale. So by sending a letter, you're saying, Charity, I am giving you X bushels of whatever the commodity is, and here's where it's located on my farm. And would you please send me a letter and tell me where you want that marketed and when you want it marketed? Now they've got total control of that grain, and it's no longer yours.
The charity should respond in writing with directions on when and where to sell the commodity. In this case, we'll say it's corn, and the elevator would cut a check directly to the charity. That second part, it's important.
Two things that IRS looks at. Did you have dominion and control of it? First letter, no. Secondly, did you have constructive receipt of that grain? Could you have told the elevator, no, I changed my mind, just give me the money? And no, it was their grain. Whereas if you just take grain to market and say, oh, and please make a $5,000 check payable to my church, then it was really your money and you were giving them cash as opposed to grain.
In this case, cash is not king, and the raw commodity is a more valuable gift. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
And Farm Week reports of a high yield chase. Last week, Kankakee County Sheriff stopped a 19-year-old man for a traffic stop. The man ran from the police and into a nearby cornfield. The police surrounded the field but were unsuccessful in cornering him. So what do? You call in the farmers. Mark Tanner, the farmer in question, had just started corn harvest on a nearby field when he got a phone call from the police. They said, rather than ruining my field, could I come over with my combine and clear away as much corn as possible? This harvest required some slight modifications on his combine, a bulletproof vest for himself, and 2 armed officers with automatic rifles. A couple of hours later, police came up with their man, and Tanner came up with almost 170 bushel per acre. Sounds like a pretty good haul. I can't wait to see the movie. Thanks for watching. I'm Monica Becker.
Thank you, Monica. Well, we got some rain, just in time to mess up harvest just a little bit, but we were so dry for so long. Was it enough? Well, will October be horrible, or will November make us scream for mercy? Here to help us out is Cameron Craig in this week's Under the Four Rivers Skies.
From a very dry August and September to a moderately wet October, the severe to moderate drought that covered most of central Illinois has finally subsided in the eastern counties, but continues in the west. Tonight, I will focus on the climate of October and glance over what we can expect for the months ahead.
Rain showers began to appear in late September, but did not reappear until the 12th day of October. The most significant rain we received was between October 17th and 20th, with 2.51 inches. This rain event was beneficial because it fell at a slow rate, allowing the dry soil to soak it up. The total amount of rain received in Charleston for the month was 3.37 inches, which is just over a quarter of an inch above the 30-year average of 3.11 inches. The moderate and severe drought began to shrink to the west after the 20th, improving conditions in the east. The drought that set into the region in August was the result of a lack of significant precipitation. The total amount of precipitation in August was just slightly over a half an inch. High daytime temperatures and dry soil created an environment that disallowed hopeful rain showers to reach the surface. The jet stream ridging over the northern Great Plains also inhibited the passing of storm systems in the lower Midwest. The jet stream is now shifting southerly, which has improved the drought situation here in east central Illinois. Moderate to severe drought conditions remain firm in the western counties. The average temperature for the month was 59 degrees, putting it slightly above the 30-year normal of 56.7 degrees. The maximum temperature was 86 degrees on the 7th, and the minimum dropped to 34 degrees on the 22nd, giving people a hint of the winter chill. Through the 12th of October, the month was on the warm side, with daytime highs hovering in the mid to low 80s. On the 14th, the daytime high dropped to 65 degrees and would remain in the mid-60s through the 16th. Daytime highs dropped again into the upper 40s on the 20th and 21st due to rain showers. The rest of the month remained in the 60s and 70s. Elsewhere throughout the region this month so far, Springfield had just over an inch of rain and a temperature of 59 degrees. Champaign received 1.20 inches of rain and had an average temperature of 56 degrees. Decatur was also lacking significant rain this month with 1.59 inches and an average temperature of 58 degrees. Bloomington had 2.89 inches with an average temperature of 56 degrees. Lawrenceville received the highest amount of rain with 3.38 inches and had an average temperature of 60 degrees. October was dry to start, but the eastern counties recuperated in the latter half. Drought conditions continue in the west with not much relief in the near future. As the days grow shorter, the average temperature across the region will continue to show the sign that winter is ahead, and it won't be long before we see the first snowflake. But who knows what nature has in store.
The overall temperature in November looks to be slightly above normal with less than normal precipitation. For the next 3 months, temperatures will sit near normal and precipitation slightly below normal. That's it for me this week. Protect our home and always say thank you to our farmers.
Well, just in time for all that Halloween candy that's tempting me by daring to sit by my front door, it's reported that people who like sweet foods are someone generally nicer than people who don't. You see, a team of researchers from North Dakota State, Gettysburg College, and St. Xavier University designed a series of 5 experiments to see how taste preference related to behavior. One experiment showed that participants that ate a sweet food like chocolate were more likely to volunteer to help someone than those who eat a non-sweet food like a cracker. Another study revealed how people with taste preferences viewed others. It turns out that people tend to see people with a sweet tooth as more agreeable and helpful than others, and less likely to be neurotic or extroverted. North Dakota State's Dr. Michael Robinson said, our results suggest there's a real link between sweet taste and pro-social behavior. Pro-social behavior? Well, I guess that means I'll have to be a nice guy and actually hand out that candy on Monday. Well, that's it for this week. Work hard, be careful, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.